Welcome to the SABC News COVID-19 Global Wrap, where we bring you highlights of stories that dominated news across the globe with regards to the coronavirus pandemic. I am Pabalole Phaka, but I am not alone. I am joined by my colleague Busisiwe Khadebe. But before we get into it, let us have a look at some global statistics.
The global COVID-19 statistics are over 4.5 million confirmed cases, with over 1.7 million recoveries and over 300,000 deaths. In South Africa, the confirmed cases are over 12,700, with over 5,000 recoveries and over 230 deaths.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says consultations are being held to explore the possibility of easing the lockdown from level 4 to level 3 in some parts of the country by the end of May.
We will immediately begin a process of consultation with relevant stakeholders on the proposal that by the end of May, most of the country should be placed on alert level 3.
The Democratic Alliance, African Christian Democratic Party, and some within the private sector are calling for the lockdown to be eased or lifted.
Well, rules and regulations should be applied that make sense in terms of combating the virus and dealing with the health pandemic. Many of these regulations that have been published by government over the course of the last few weeks, unlawfully so, I believe, have absolutely no impact on fighting the virus and are there to make the security services' lives better.
Meanwhile, in the Eastern Cape, a worrying scourge of new COVID-19 infections saw both the President and the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, conducting oversight visits in the province. And in the Western Cape, which is South Africa's COVID-19 epicenter, Premier Alan Winde has since gone into self-isolation after getting into contact with ENCA cameraman Lungi Tom, who unfortunately succumbed to COVID-19 related complications on Wednesday. On to the rest of the continent, Lesotho recorded its first case of COVID-19 on Thursday, just after lifting lockdown. It had been the last COVID-19 free country on the continent. Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina has spoken out against the World Health Organization for not endorsing COVID Organics, a herbal concoction that's said to cure patients suffering from COVID-19. In an interview with France Radio International, Rajoelina said the WHO is only critical of the Artemisia-based plant because it comes from a small and poor African country instead of Europe.
Madagascar is contributing a solution to a global problem. We've been always used that it is Europe and Western Europe and other countries which do contribute to global problems.
The World Food Programme says Zimbabwe is dealing with the effects of Cyclone Idai, the ongoing drought, and COVID-19 is compounding the problem. The country is also facing a serious malaria outbreak, creating an additional burden to an already fragile health system. UNAIDS and the World Health Organization have warned that if interruptions in health services and supplies during the COVID-19 pandemic are not overcome, it could lead to more than 500,000 extra deaths from AIDS-related illnesses in sub-Saharan Africa. The United States government has issued a health alert to citizens in Tanzania, citing a lack of data on confirmed COVID-19 cases. Confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa are over 70,000, with over 25,000 recoveries and over 2,000 deaths.
And now for international news. With a deteriorating health crisis and a mounting death toll, the United States of America has now recorded over 86,000 COVID-19 deaths. U.S. infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci cautioned against dangers associated with reopening schools and the economy, a warning which President Donald Trump has dismissed as unnecessary.
I was surprised by his answer, actually, because, it's just, to me, it's not an acceptable answer, especially when it comes to schools. The only thing that would be acceptable, as I said, is professors, teachers, etc., over a certain age. I think they ought to take it easy for another few weeks, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, who knows.
In South America, Brazil on Tuesday recorded its deadliest day with 884 deaths. It also recorded the highest number of confirmed cases in a single day on Wednesday, with 11,385 new cases. Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, has come under sharp criticism from state governors over his insistence to ease lockdown restrictions.
Few global leaders have downplayed the global pandemic which has killed nearly 2,000 Brazilians to the same extent as Bolsonaro. Instead, he has called the virus, quote, a little flu.
In Asia, an outbreak of 119 new COVID-19 infections has been linked to reopened bars and nightclubs in Seoul, South Korea. Despite this, health officials say they have no immediate plans of restricting social distancing regulations. The executive bloc of the European Union has called for the fast reopening of the continent's borders in an effort to salvage its ailing tourism sector. In heeding the call, Germany, which has managed to keep their death per capita rate relatively low, will be the first country to relax its border controls on Saturday. However, in an effort to avert a possible second wave outbreak, authorities in Spain intend on keeping their borders closed off from international travelers until July. And finally, the world observed International Nurses Day on Tuesday amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Healthcare workers across the globe shared their fears and frustrations over some of the difficult working conditions they endure daily. Despite their challenges, the efforts of healthcare workers are lauded and have not gone unnoticed. We salute you.
For the latest updates on the coronavirus, visit sabcnews.com.